CNN and all of the attacks that we're getting is because we are the only Facebook, the only social media giants getting 2 and 3 million views a month. So it's worrying some and pissing others off. But we're here. We're here. Okay. We're at 686 and we're waiting. You want me to sing a song while we wait? I don't mind, you know. Today is the 20th of June. 20th of June. We're going to deal with AV oil, NIB, vaccines, lockdowns, and states of absurdity. And anything else along the way that dovetails with those things, any side streets, any lanes that run parallel or perpendicular, that we could take a diversion and a side trip to, we will. So, this is, while I'm waiting on the numbers, we're at 764. I stumbled upon my son's Facebook Father's Day post, and I really want to share it because it means a lot to me that my son would say this. So there's a song by Neil Diamond called Captain Sunshine, and it goes, Captain Sunshine, he do me fine, makes the words rhyme when I'm feeling wrongly done. He don't take much, he don't make much, but to be a man like he, and walk so pure between the earth and the sea. So Joshua shared the link to that song, and he said, Pops used to play this a lot when I was a kid growing up, and for some reason it stuck as the song that when I hear it, I see him. A father's sacrifice often goes unnoticed, but especially for boys, those of us blessed enough to have fathers involved in our lives, their teachings are often the only voice you hear in your head at the scariest and hardest moments in your life. When decisions are in your hands that make you question if you are ready for certain things, their reassurance is irreplaceable. Here's to a man who's taught me a great many things. As a younger man, he showed me how to work hard, how to sacrifice, and when everything seems stacked against you, to win on sheer willpower and grit. A man who, without doubt, has the testicular fortitude of a whale. A man who has taught me the value of being strong and the value of being soft. He has taught me how to be forgiving to those who do not seem forgivable, not for their sake, but for your peace. A man who has taught me to honor the connection we all have with each other and to always intervene in injustice. Our many escapades, well documented and often the subject of laughter at family meetings. A man who has made me proud of my last name and made it a remarkable feeling when people ask, "You're Philip's son," and young lion I am. Now that I am the age he was when I was born, it's an interesting feeling watching him and affectionately comparing memories I have of him at my age to me now. Few things you will have in this life are as blessed as your parents. They connect you to the bookends of your existence in more ways than one. We often forget those who've been on this journey with us the longest in the hustle of this life. Oh God. Just in the hustle of this life, and forget they too will get old like us. Time waits for no one. Love your fathers today, but make sure to love them every day. Love everyone you care about. If it ended tomorrow, they would be the only thing to matter, whether you were king of the world or nothing at all. So on that note, happy Father's Day to Captain Sunshine from your biggest fan. The fact that I read that without my voice cracking took so much effort. You have no idea. And I walked down the stairs this morning, Father's Day, thinking about having just spoken to Andrea's daddy and talking to him and to see how he was going. And my mind cast to all the other fathers that we met during this candlelight movement and standing up for the rights of women, and all the daddies that we met who lost their girls. And my little girl was at the bottom of the steps, holding this and a card. Now, she had some gifts for me too, but she made this and the card. And she signed the card with different color handprints. And I know that she learned that from her preschool teacher. So she knows that she could sign with her handprint. And she made many handprints on the envelopes and many handprints inside the card. And I want to say that as a man today, I am blessed to have two such beautiful children. And even though I live in a haunted house where from time to time you will hear noise of things moving about, we continue on. Thank you, Joshua, for that beautiful post. Thank you, Bella, for that beautiful morning. Housekeeping. Before I go on, we are actively signing up members of the Citizens Union of Trinidad and Tobago. At some point, Satish, no, just joking about the haunted house, Hadassah. Satish will put the Citizens Union link, but Hadassah and the rest are here. Charmaine John will show up at some point, Felicia and the rest of the crew. Okay, so let's get into it. We crossed 1,000. Who's lying now? When the Newsday published that AV Oil won arbitration, I want you to hear this. Now, I am not a lawyer, but I think, and I'd like to suggest, that our laws and our institutions of justice be predicated on justice, on finding right and wrong. So when the Newsday published that the Ramesh Lawrence Maraj team won the case against the state for arbitration, I was set back and I was waiting and listening to what was going to happen in the public space. Because there is an active police investigation into fraudulent claims by AV Oil against Petrotrin. That AV Oil presented invoices to the tune of $100 million for oil that Petrotrin says AV Oil never supplied. So that case as to whether AV Oil is guilty of fraud or not is ongoing. That means that the police investigation could end tomorrow. AV Oil could be found guilty of fraud and all of the requisite action that the state could take taken against them, while at the same time having won arbitration against the state. The state lost what could be a fight for the right to bill for something that you never sent, and worse, you never sent the oil, but you want that $100 million. And all the time that you've been not providing, no longer employed or gainfully connected to Petrotrin, because the Privy Council no less freed Petrotrin to discontinue doing business with you, you are now, before the outcome of the actual criminal investigation, you are suing for losses of earnings that if you are found to be criminally fraudulent, you would not be entitled to. So how do we get here? And worse, I like Ramesh Lawrence Maraj. I think Ramesh Lawrence Maraj is the brightest lawyer we've ever produced. Ramesh is uncannily capable. He is able to sue the state and to arbitration, win a case that is the subject. Nobody on Petrotrin's side said, hold up, we have to stick a pin because the police not finished determining if your client is criminally guilty of fraud. Ramesh was able to get the state to lose, even though he could be representing people who committed fraud against the state. That That is beyond brilliant, attorneys. I mean, Ramesh worth every cent he charges. If you go to Ramesh and he say, I'll do a case for 50 million, and you gone for a case because a tailor sewed the left side of your pants shorter than the right side, you want to sue for the $50 you spend, Ramesh say, I'll take 50 million because I could sue that tailor and his whole family, going back ancestors and all the land any of them ever owned, and I'll get you $100 million worth of land in exchange for your pants. Believe him. Believe Ramesh. He could do it. Understand what we're talking about here. That Petrotrin discontinued working with a company that Petrotrin said tried to rob them, sent them a bill for $100 million worth of oil that they never sent, and called the police. And the police didn't say, like it said to Arjun, "There's no evidence here, there's no Pfizer in the country, there's nobody have doing this. Haul your ass." I didn't see Arjun had a ass, but haul your ass all the same. The police didn't say that to Petrotrin. The police found that there was sufficient evidence, I want to use as the word, in case I'm wrong, I apologize. Let's call it fluff, dust, shadows. Let's call it reasonable suspicion. Let's call it evidence. That the police said that there is enough evidence here to launch an investigation, so we will launch the investigation. So that investigation is ongoing. And it is amazing to me. I think Ramesh Lawrence Mirage should be knighted now. We should create the Knights, the Order of Trinidad and Tobago, and start knighting people. Everybody else done discontinue dealing with Trinidad. Queen don't want nothing to do with we. Guyana don't want nothing to do with we. India don't want nothing to do with we. Jamaica don't want nothing to do with we. Barbados creating a bubble in the whole Caribbean for everybody in the Caribbean except Trinidad and Tobago. America don't want nothing to do with we. No, but America say, we vaccinating the world. But Trinidad, we had a box of Pfizer and we use up some. Look some. All I wanted, to whom it may concern. And we take that. Because we dog. There's nothing now on the rowley. The once great Republic of Trinidad and Tobago has been reduced to this. Afghanistan, Bananistan, a shithole, a latrine pit. And there are some people who take serious umbrage to that while treading water like a duck up to their necks in raw sewage. But to them, this is Charles chocolate. And those lumpy bits you see going by, those are the peanuts. Because you cannot be. You see, patriotism is not a one-way street. Patriotism is the response a country that takes care of its people gets from its people. You don't fly the flag of a country that kicking you in your face and poisoning your children. I watched a show tonight called Jack Ryan. I watched the whole second season today. And if how that end really happened in Venezuela, boy, I will clap till my hands bleed. The people of Venezuela reached the president's palace and pulled down the gates and went for the president. And how I wish that could really happen in the real world. How I wish the people of Venezuela could go and do that tonight. And stop fleeing your country. Because 50 million all, I don't know how much gun, how much bullet Maduro have. But at some point, when, you see, 350,000 people dead from COVID and we shut down the world. So if 1 million of the 50 million of y'all had to die, take it as martyrdom to get all 182 other countries to do like we did when Saddam invaded it's slipping my mind. But Saddam Hussein invaded his neighbor and the whole, somebody tell me correct, and the whole world responded to George Bush and went straight there and supported that Remember that? When the whole world responded, and there was that whole response. If Venezuelans go to the president's palace tonight, the world would respond. The whole world, except maybe China and Russia, who for all their saber rattling, and you see, is Biden there now, and may or may not, I don't know, but Trump would have nuked theirs. And they knew that. They knew that. But that's a story for another time in history. When we come full circle, we realize what was bullshit that the media was peddling and what was needed and necessary in the world. But for now, Kuwait. When Saddam invaded Kuwait and George W. Bush called for the world to respond January 17th, my birthday, they responded. So, we went down a path that led us to Venezuela. But let's come back to AV oil. the order of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. Because nobody wants to deal with us anymore, we could isolate ourselves and create our own systems of everything, including nighting. The British just came up with that one. Let's call people nights. Why didn't call them days? Look at that. We tap a sword on your shoulder twice until you rise. So, mush cocoon fly. And you rise. Night of the purple table. And you go forward with your nose in the air and a different pep in your step because you're a knight. Everybody want to be a knight. You don't know why. They only want to be a knight because everybody can't be a knight. Trinidad could be doing that. And Ramesh Lawrence Maraj should be the first person knighted. If you could do, listen, we should change the name from lawsuit to Ramesh. I will Ramesh you, and you've been Ramished. And the news will say, Petrotrin was successfully Ramished by AV oil. Because if you could stop for a minute and contemplate what we're talking about here, that AV oil that may or may not be guilty of fraudulently invoicing Petrotrin for oil that they may or may not have delivered to Petrotrin, has sued Petrotrin through arbitration for failure to pay them for oil they may or may not have delivered. I think we could stop the whole game and hand everything over to Ramesh. Because if Ramesh sues the state on behalf of the homeless, they could end up with the HDC. With the whole HDC. Ramesh that talented. Are they not understanding? If Ramesh sued the ground for wearing down your shoe, he could win. The man that talented. Because what I'm not getting in the national conversation, and when Faris straightened the three-leg in Parliament to talk shit for them, because that's what he does. Faris' job is to talk shit. What Rowley said this Saturday, when he want a proper lawyer, he's go for Stuart Young. When they want somebody to talk shit, they send for Faris. Because Stuart Young was speaking in a press conference on public health that crossed into the Attorney General's office, the Minister of National Security, the Minister of Health, those three ministries. And Stuart Young is a minister in the Prime Minister's office, I believe, but he's the Minister of Energy. And I didn't understand in what capacity he was there. And I said, if you want Stuart, because you put Fitzgerald's black face as National Security Minister, but you don't want his mouth, then say so. You have a man in a cabinet level position, massive title, and you're not allowing him to speak. At press conferences, there is a state of emergency since May 15th, and the only person who has not spoken on that state of emergency is the minister responsible for carrying out the state of emergency. So is it that Keith Rowley has no confidence in the Minister of National Security? Is that why Stuart Young was there? But then he said at the end, after I asked that question, he said, when I want to get legal advice, I turn to the lawyers. The Attorney General is the country's chief legal advisor. He is the steward of all our laws. He is in charge of it. Is it that Keith Rowley has no confidence in Faris Al-Rawi? What is going on in that cesspool? What? I wait to see. And I'll tell you this. Another senior counsel jumped in. And she said, oh, they made errors. The errors she said they made had nothing to do with the fraud investigation and have to do with whatever it is they're doing inside there. Because our law is a convoluted thing. Eh? I am actually involved in a matter right now where Schrodinger's cat is going to be put into evidence. It could at the same time be both alive and dead. And we're going to find out. And this senior counsel, Deborah Peake, jump in the fray. And I'd like to know, all of these lawyers that are in this thing, what their bills are. Because besides the $100 million, don't get it wrong, you know, these gals and dolls, they don't work for cheap. When you are a legal advisor to Petrotrin, your bill takes men, plural, to lift. That I come in an envelope, that come in with 6 men on either side carrying it. Big, big numbers. So all of this going on, there is nobody in the country, maybe if there was a minister of energy, I don't know. Somebody who could say, wait a minute, we are sticking a pin and taking no part in no litigation, arbitration, or otherwise until the police are finished with their investigation. And that would be a fair position to take. But nobody has put that forward. So I'm putting it forward tonight. Kamala, you could write it in a letter tomorrow as the leader of the opposition, and the media will publish it like it came out of the UNC. But I let a lot of weeks pass before I said it. So we'll see what happens now. But I am saying to the nation that that entire arbitration was literally out of time. And all the sarcasm I was talking before. Something cannot be pursued out of time because the results of the police investigation will be instructive to the arbitration. Because you cannot say that you're owing me $100 million for oil I may or may not have provided if the police say you never provided it. Because then Petrotrin will be able to say, what nonsense you're talking, Ramesh. The police said you all never provided oil. So your fight is with the police. Let's see what happens next. Let's talk National Insurance Board. And we'll do this one quick. National Insurance Board, after collecting funds from people for their whole life to pay them a lump sum or payments, pension payments at retirement, is in breach and refusing to pay, and the Minister of Finance has joined the conspiracy of fraud to defraud. This is what the Ministry of Finance and the National Insurance Board together are trying to do, to defraud people their due and rightful money. They're not asking for nothing they're not entitled to. You took money out of their wages and salary for years, for decades, by the right of law. You wrote a law that if they didn't do it, they're going to go to jail. So you enforced a law to take money out of people's salary under terms and conditions. And now that it is ripe and ready for plucking, you're trying to vary the terms and conditions. Talking about people living too long, maybe we could push retirement from 60 to 65. Brother, that's not the terms and conditions of the deal the people entered into. You could have that with the new people coming, but you can't do that to the people who you say at the age of 60, you will start back getting back this money. What you are doing there is fraud. And where is the people to stand up for these elders who are being denied what is rightfully theirs? And that a statutory agency like the National Insurance Board and the Ministry of Finance are working together to defraud them and deny them their rights. Kamala, that's another issue that the opposition should be championing as urgent government, as urgent parliamentary business. And I strongly recommend that you write that tomorrow so that the media could publish it and pretend that somebody else besides me said it. Vaccines. Now, I want to dedicate everything I'm about to say to BC Paris and Ira Matur. Two people that I like and I respect. I think she's brilliant. I think he's bright and funny. I think they're both wrong on the vaccines. I think the government is peddling fear and misinformation. I'll tell you why. On everything else that they're doing, we'll come back and deal with those things. But when you tell me, take a vaccine, but know that after you get your 2 shots of vaccine, there is no guarantee that you're protected and that we still want you to wear a mask, wash your hand, and social distance because you could still get COVID-19. A light version? No. COVID that could kill you. That's why. Because you see, if it was a light version, if you were going to get the sniffles, a runny nose, a cough, people would say, all right, that's all right, because I took the vaccine. So sniffles, runny nose, and a cough, a slight fever, something like how your skin feel when you leave Maracas on a Sunday. All of that is acceptable. But no. We're saying to you that after being duly vaccinated, you could get COVID and die. I want to use the word fraud here. I want to say that we're spending hundreds of millions of dollars on bullshit. If we're not, and this is also important, with or without the vaccine, there are numbers that you cannot ignore. BC, Basil, Pires, and Era. These numbers cannot be ignored. Now, I mentioned something 2 weeks ago in a live video, and I heard Richards, one of the talking heads, one of the 5 degrees that works in the Ministry of Health, come and address the issue about what the parallel health system means and what the existing health system means. I was the one who told the nation that our healthcare system is built per 100,000 based on statistical expectations of types of illnesses prevalent among people of our race, color, creed, class, condition, our weather, our location. We have all the information, and we know that Trinidadians, black males, have the highest heart disease in the Western world, and all our Trinidadians have some of the highest diabetes in the Western world. And all of a sudden, because of our failure to manage the environment and a lot of what's going on in our dumps, has us right now with some hazardous numbers of pancreatic cancer and other cancers. But we have a spike. You see that word that they're using for COVID? We have a spike in pancreatic cancer. It killed John Sabga. It killed Johnny Gonzalez. It killed some people with name. It just ain't kill enough for them to go at it. Because what's going on in the dumps, in our dumps, we're literally dumping everything together, grinding it to dust, and then the breeze that bring in the Sahara dust, picking up the Bitam Labas dust and delivering that in homes in west of the lighthouse. And the same thing is happening in the other dumps that we call landfills in this country. All we do is dumping it, lead poisoning, raw sewage, dead bodies. You get everything in the dump. Nothing is separated, sorted. We're not doing any sort of reduce, reuse, repair, recycle, recondition. Nothing. We just throw it in our black bag. They pick up the black bag and they dump the truck full of black bags in the dump. And a machine that we're renting for hundreds of millions of dollars is passed by and just keep crushing everything until that mountain of crush get too high and they send the trucks to the next place. And all of a sudden dump there. And all of the liquids, all of the mercury, all of the battery acid, all of the condensates, everything that's in there, the million snotty nose rags, some of them containing COVID-19, some of them contain COVID-20. We grinding it all and it turns into dust. And when the rain falls, the rain seeps through it and takes it into our groundwater. And when it's dry season, the breezes pass and pick it up and blow it all through the country. Our public health system is supposed to know or have a relatively good idea that we're going to have a flu season. In America, they start to advertise vaccines. Flu season is coming. They know exactly when. This is how it works. Like I told you all, there's a guy in the electric company in Manchester. When Manchester United plays a football match at home, his job is to watch that match, waiting for the referee's last whistle. Because at the last whistle, his job is to start putting more power in the grid as 10 million British jump up and go and flick on the electric kettle to make a cup of tea. And that cup of tea, collectively, you see what he is doing is flattening the T curve. He put some more energy so that even though more demand comes than they set up for, they know that it is an arbitration, that it is only happening because of this. When this settles, we're going to go back to normal. That is what you call management. Management is understanding all of the criteria, all of the details, everything that could impact or influence what we're working on. We know those things and we prepare for them, to deal with them, to keep things running, the ship of state sailing smoothly. So we know that on an average February, we will get 7 diabetes, 9 heart disease, 4 cancers, 21 flus, 7 chop, 3 gunshots, 19 accidents. There's an average. There's an average. And if all of a sudden, you have a situation where an explosion in Point Lisas, 600 people get burned. All of a sudden, the entire national system, we've broken public health. And we have to find ways to house people and deal with people and say, okay, we have 26 burn baths and we have 600 people. So we have to come from the most critical, go back, and we have to look at who we could save. Who we could save, because if you put in people in the burn baths and they're just not going to survive, you had to write them off. And that's what was going on with COVID-19 when you run out of oxygen and oxygen masks. Because that's the curve that they're talking about. The curve that they're talking about is that you expect a certain number, but, and this is where it gets tricky. This is where it gets tricky. We had ample time. We knew the storm was coming 3 months before the storm touched down. And in those 3 months, the government talked shit, had a carnival. Rowley and Dial Singh contradict each other, contradict themselves, said things one way. Dial Singh said, this will be a flu. If we get one case, we get plenty. And then he said, batten down, it's going to destroy the country. Masks don't work at all, but make sure that you wear your mask, because masks are the only thing to work. And at some point, they had to run and get Roshan Parasram because people stopped listening to Dial Singh. So much shit he was talking. And Parasram came out like the girl them sugar. And for about 3 weeks, people was loving up on Parasram because he was given what sounded like factual information without the nasally, whiny convent girl accent we've come to associate with Terence Delay Singh. and Roshan for a while, but then, things changed. Parashram started to contradict his own self. And people started asking questions of him. And he not set up for that. So his young boy blush that he started off with, he quickly lost. And he ended up looking like a hostage being placed in front of the camera to tell proof of life, to tell people are still alive. Send the ransom. That's how he looks. And the Prime Minister always, check this, always introduces Parashram by saying a sentence. We are about to vaccinate 175,000 people, but and we have the vaccinations and we have the chairs and the tents. But let me bring the CMO to tell you. And the CMO will come and say, yeah, we are about to vaccinate 175,000, we have the chairs and the tents. Because his job has been, because we know that the Prime Minister is a double-tongued deceiver, he lies like some people breathe. He lies. He could lie on a lie. Keith Rowley is that capable. And Diyal Singh, I mean, seriously, is there anybody in this world that likes to hear Diyal Singh speak? Nobody. Nobody. But come back to Richards when she was explaining to you what the health system is. So we have these beds that are available for people, heart disease, diabetes, cancers, or PNM people, when they go into play mass, they just bring mommy and just bring the children and register them in the hospital. Could they have a nurse friend or a doctor friend? Or they good with the RHA man. So they get a whole ward for their family. They put their family in the hospital for carnival. Check it out. PNM people spike the curve. We are accustomed to dealing with the curve because PNM people just come and put PNM supporters, because they have connection in the PNM, just come and put their family in hospital bed to stay for 3-4 days. They get meals and they get somewhere to sleep, somewhere to pee. That is the curve. That is the curve right there. We had a 3-month notice and we knew, looking at every country, what was going on in the world. We were getting daily updates from the Center for Disease Control, from the World Health Organization, and from Al Jazeera. And we was getting MSNBC and CNN and BBC, because this was a hot item. The news media became fashionable again as people want to know, when are we going to die? And we were seeing, so we were in a position where we could understand how COVID works. We were luckier than most. It was coming from far. It was coming from China, through Italy, to America, New York City, before it got here. And if we didn't have Carnival, we would not bring the freshwater Yankee Chinese back home from New York, from the Bronx and Queens, to come home and talk with the new American accent and spend a little money by tribe to wine on a bumsy. We would not get the COVID that they brought with them if we didn't have that Carnival. The PNM sycophants, the road rat and them wouldn't talk about that. We had a heads up. When the PNM former, I think he was a senator, organized the cruise of death, they took elders out to incubate in the sun and come back and dead in Trinidad. Our first deaths were from that cruise. They took on tour to Toko and back, remember? Because it was going by Boyne's Hotel for a while. We nearly gave Boyne's a contract. That's what I hear. I know if it's true. If it isn't, I apologize. But we did nothing but talk shit. We imported masks and then donated them to China. We made fantabulous boasts. We are number 1 in the world. Number 1. Oxford says so. If Oxford says so, it had to be so. Number 1 in the world for dealing with COVID. Wow. What an amazing thing to be able to say. 1,551 beds are in the parallel health sector. We're ready for anything. And nothing came. We got some bubbles. It gave us some things to talk about. We did a little lockdown thing. We experimented with it. We get to feel like we was in the thing. But we wasn't really in the thing. And then, when it was all feeling safe and clear, we had Tobago. And we took them to Tobago. And we took 50,000 people to Tobago because we knew the numbers. If you check the numbers, 10,000 people could be exposed to COVID. I'll give you our exact numbers. Since we've had, from the start, total positive cases for COVID-19 from the 12th of March 2020, our first case, the present, is 30,619. That is our total positive cases, right? Total persons tested, 217,371. So that's about 10%. A little more than 10% of the people tested come back positive. Of those people that come back positive, 21,608 didn't have a bad experience. They had COVID at home. They sat down and they Netflixed and chilled for 14 days. And they sniffled and they coughed. 8,274 are active cases. We got 737 deaths. Of the 8,274 people currently active, only, I'll tell you how much in hospital. 454. So 8,000, 5% of the current cases, 5%. So 10% of the people tested will get COVID. And of that will be positive for COVID. And of that 10%, all of this is information that you can get on this crap a day. Of that 10%, 5%, because 10% of the 217,000 people test positive. Of that, 30,000 from March to now, we have 8,274 now. And of them, 5% in the hospital. Our total deaths is 737. But our total cases today was 30,000. 10% of 30,000 is 3,000. 1% is 300. 2%, 600. 3%, 900. We had 737, 2.5%. 2.5% of the total cases of COVID we've ever had. 2.5% of all, including the overwhelming majority of 21,808 recovered patients, 8,274 total active positive cases, but only 454 are in the hospital. We want to vaccinate the entire country, in your children, who can't get COVID at all. If you come and spit in them out, they can't get it. Because these numbers are telling you two things tonight. That the lockdown is not working because we still have cases coming. That your system to lock down the country is not working. And that your race to get to herd immunity for an illness that could possibly kill 2.5% of 5% of 10% of the people is madness. We are in a madhouse. This is asylum thinking. Because of 1.4 million people to date, 1% of that got COVID. In 16 months. This is insane. Our lockdown and our state of emergency is bullshit. It's abuse of office. It's misuse of the Constitution. It's convenient use of statistics in other people's jurisdictions. India, Brazil, Haiti. Because anything you want to talk about Northern Italy, they're good. Italy good. America good. England good. People out and about. You don't have to vaccinate the world. You certainly don't have to vaccinate the whole country. And I want to tell you this. If you are not comfortable getting vaccinated and you want to roll the dice, I'll tell you this. If you're not obese, if you're not above the age of 60, if you don't have comorbidities, whether it's been diagnosed or not, if you don't have cancer, diabetes, heart attack, autoimmune diseases, if your system is not otherwise compromised, if all of your organs are doing what they're supposed to be doing, and you don't want to take the vaccine, that's your right. And everyone who is scared to death should. And I think if you separate the people from the fear-mongering, and tell people, listen, you could get COVID and develop herd immunity, or you can come and get a vaccine and speed it up. We're introducing COVID to you to help you get there faster. That's the idea, but we're not sure because these vaccines, untested. And it seems that coincidentally, the virus mutated while we were vaccinating, and there are people who believe that the two things are not mutually exclusive, that it is the vaccination that is causing the mutation. And what is worse, if you vaccinated, fully vaccinated with Pfizer, if you have Pfizer, Moderna, and a Sinopharm for good measure, you could still get COVID and dead. You take all three. Post it on Facebook. Your Pfizer, some Moderna, Sinopharm, but you take Sputnik, anything they have outside it, take it, and you could still get COVID and dead. And there are people who take nothing and will get COVID and not know. It's a crapshoot. It's a numbers game. We know that now, 16 months later. Having been through the worst of this virus, the whole world is waking up now and realizing, okay, for a little while, we allow the media to scare us shitless. And while scared shitless, as the herd and the flock and the hive of sheep that we are, we allow the governments of the world to do just about anything. But all of the numbers that they are touting to you are not adding up to the outcomes that they said were coming, is here, or can come. It never did. And every single time you look at Keith Rowley's face, unmasked every time, and know that that 71-year-old with a busted heart and other comorbidities got COVID, and a gardener and a housekeeper saw him through. So something not adding up. Now if you talk to Surud Rambachan, he had such a serious bout of COVID. His daughter, Ranjana, and her timely intervention and injections saved his life, to the point where Surud Rambachan wants to go down by the highway intersection every morning and read from the Bhagavad Gita and give out flowers. Because so happy is he to have another chance at life, that any and all money that may have stuck to him accidentally while he was a government minister, money beyond what he earned as an actual salary, any of that that may be around him, he wants to pick it up and give it away. No, that's not true. I added that. These people convenient in the religion that they find, but stick up in there. But Surud survived. And if you ever looked into Surud Rambachan's face and his yellow eyes, you would think that the common cold could kill him. He survived. Jack Warner. Jack is how old? 112? Jack survived. Tim Gopi Singh in his 80s. He survived. So what are you saying to the public? That you need to vaccinate young, healthy people to protect them from a virus that's so deadly. You have to get tested to know you have it. A virus so deadly. Men in the 70s, 80s, and 90s with comorbidities and all manner of problems don't succumb to it. That Keith Rowley, who wants to bring Trotman to give you the 3 W's, wear a mask, wear a condom, wash your face. She who telling you that, standing next to Rowley, who never wears a mask. And judging by the amount of outside children he have, neither a condom. But that's a story for another time. Because they say that's why we weren't allowed to have Father's Day today. Plenty people finding Rowley house and ringing that doorbell and doing, what they call this thing? Where you could send away and get the case and spit in a tube and send it and have Maury tell you if Rowley's your father. They ducking that. That's what I heard. I don't know if it's true. But if Trotman telling you with your young, strong self, you outside there planting, dashing and picking yam, your back strong, your hamstring like bandag tire, and this man, who if you blow on him, he fall down, wearing no mask, spitting all over the table. They say you spit 9 feet. But he say, I 6 feet from him, and I 10 feet from you. And the science, man say the science. The science say, you have a 5% chance of getting COVID. And that, my friend, I have that video to take to court because I get tickets. And I go into court to challenge it. And there's the Prime Minister voice. If he, his busted heart, got COVID twice, and he don't have to wear a mask, if I in the car with my family, I had to wear a mask. And we had to have that as a discussion in the court. And I will be the case that goes and challenges it in the court. I promise you that, with Rowley's voice. But I want to ask two, what I thought, I still believe them to be critical thinkers, and I believe they're succumbing to either fear or they're spending too much time close to the lodge. Because if you're getting vaccinated, but you're no more protected than somebody who is not, then what is the point? I don't want no other information. I want that information. I want to know that. What is the point of the vaccination if you're not protected? And if you get it, even though you're vaccinated, you could get it worse than somebody. My sister, whole family get it. And everybody peachy keen. And my brother-in-law have some questionable issues. Whole family, normal. 3 days in, 4 days in, normal. In the beginning, when you get the COVID-19 diagnosis, because of the amount of fear that they fear-monger in here, everything they're going to do. They want to sleep in the night, they want to lie down, and then you realize it's not what they said it was. But for a tiny percentage of the population, you could get sick. And if we had a proper Minister of Health with a proper healthcare team running, we have a stage freaking actor, theater man running the Regional Health Authority. This is a shit show. This is just them taking money and borrowing money for your children to pay. And Dwayne Face gone. Here, you need to study again. Here all over the world, here in the family, when you finally kick their ass out of office. Is you and your children for the right? You argue with, I didn't order this call, send them for call. No. No, they come and take your pot. When they sign on the dotted line, we will give you $250 million. You'll spend $150 million back in Chinese goods because we want to make sure that we're lending you money, that we're collecting back from you to sell you shit that we make it. And the other $100 million, you spend it wherever you want. But if you don't pay back this money, we're coming to take your port, your pitch lake, and some of your people. All of the press conferences, the entire state of emergency and the lockdown are all different levels of runny bullshit. Everything that comes out of Keith Rowley's mouth this week will contradict last week and next week. The whole Pfizer smuggling 80 vial shit exposed all of them for the liars that they are. The whole United States of America is laughing at us, laughing at America. And I tell you, watch that show, Jack Ryan. A senator in the United States in that show was involved in activities that helped and gave comfort to the Venezuelans, used the Venezuelan president to further profit. And the Federal Bureau of Investigation arrested the senator on the Senate steps. You see, it's not over for this. Somebody going and trip somebody in America over this 80 vials. We don't have nobody in this country with enough clout to stop an FBI investigation. And if it starts, well, boy, hayo, pancho. Because you say it was coming and you knew it was coming, the Prime Minister knew it was coming, the Minister of National Security knew it was coming, the Minister of Health knew it was coming. We were in correspondence, we were in conversation, but the Saturday that it came, we didn't know, even though that Saturday we had a press conference, was talking about vaccine, and we know it well enough, but we didn't tell customs that this coming. The customs officer was, yes, we were expecting you, ma'am. Welcome. Welcome to Trinidad and Tobago. Would you like to go for doubles? You can't have any, they closed. But thank you for the half a case of Pfizer. You're lying in or you're going back? Where's your plan? But we knew, we expecting you. No. She pulled up in front of the customs officer, passed through. He say, Rowley actually tell all you that we decided to go through the normal systems so people wouldn't say, yeah, the bullshit, man. So people wouldn't say that the Ministry of National Security was going through channels. Brother man, we expect the Ministry of National Security, we expect that the vaccines for the soldiers would come direct, addressed to the Ministry of National Security, through a green line, straight into the truck, off the plane. We expect that. So don't give us bullshit. Don't tell us you let it come through the system so we don't talk. Come on, man. You're not talking to PNM voters. You're talking to critical thinkers, people. In fact, you don't want to be a critical thinker. You just have to be a normal Sesame Street watcher to look at that and say, this man talking shit. What is he trying to say? That we went out of our way to lie to you so that we wouldn't have to lie to you? That's what you're telling us? And brings George Young to distract we with you? Ho Chi Minh, beard and mustache? Every day now is a piece of shit from this government. And I want to tell you this. That state of emergency is an abuse of office. And when it is done, we need lawyers to take the state to court for abusing the Constitution. And all of this needs the people of Trinidad and Tobago to say, hey, hear what, bro? We ain't hire you for that. We hire you to run the country and you make a shit of that. While you was there, COVID come, we expected that you were going to do something good about it. You didn't. You made a shit of that too. There's a petition that says so. There is a petition making the rounds called Keep Rowley, Fire Yourself. And that petition, and I will read it to you if you give me 5 seconds. It's on change.org. It's called Keep Rowley, Fire Yourself. And it says, this is the purpose of the petition. If you disagree, don't sign it. If you agree, while you're watching me, go and find it. Don't write on the wall, somebody post the link here. Don't be so lazy. Go to change.org and search, Keep Rowley, Fire Yourself. Go on Google or just go on social media. Half of y'all get WhatsApps from me and ask me, send the link here. And I had just sent the link. Scroll up. It's in your message. We, the people, are fed up of your incompetence and mismanagement of our country. On your watch, our economy was destroyed while your fat cat friends and financiers got fatter on public funds. Your handling of COVID-19 has been an ongoing disaster, and your cabinet reads like an opportunistic grab by the least qualified available. Murder rates, deaths from COVID, suicides, mental illness, homelessness, poverty, drug trafficking, human trafficking, and an explosion of illegal immigrants are the hallmarks and legacy of the 6 years that you and your bungling bunch have been abusing the public's patience and trust. If you have an ounce of decency, a smidgen of integrity, a ghost of humanity, please, in the name of all that's holy, fire your blasted self and take that clunker of a cabinet and that dank and fetid swamp of a parliament with you. So say all of us. If you've not signed that yet, please, go now. And if anybody watching could put it in the thread right now so that everybody could go and sign it. We need massive numbers so that we could shame them, so we could embarrass them, so CNN could cover with what we just read to you. CNN could cover, MSNBC, Al Jazeera could cover and say the people of a tropical island, Trinidad and Tobago, are suing their government, asking them to fire themselves. If nothing doesn't embarrass them into hiding their face. You see, they all believe that when they're done, they can run to Miami and clink glasses, plain lifestyle of the rich and famous. But if you get embarrassed internationally, that's a different thing. Because people will see you on the beach and say, aren't you the person that people accused of pilfering their money? Did you run away here to live? Somebody asking, where's the trade union? This is not that story, John. We're having a different story tonight. Keep up. There is a non-political activist group called the Citizens Union of Trinidad and Tobago. You can access it at citizensuniontt.com or citizensuniontt.org. You can call 486-2888 or 471-2888. You can WhatsApp both. And you could sign up, citizensuniontt.com, citizensuniontt.org, and join. And you can join this organization because strength in numbers is a real thing. And that the more of us that are standing on the same side of an issue, is the greater the likelihood that the government will run into the parliament and pretend that even though they were ducking it for 15 years, it was their intention all along to legalize pepper spray. Even though their Minister of Agriculture said that a pepper spray is more lethal than a gun. So why is he not fired for that statement? Did he lie to the parliament? Or is pepper spray more lethal than a gun, but it's okay? Then why aren't you just making it easier for people to get guns? You see how when you talk shit, shit catches up with you? But anyway, they're going to pretend that this was their intention all along, even though they were fighting it from the very start. Then the Attorney General who found himself outside lighting candles, say lighting candle don't work. The man who said crying for Andrea, not going to help Andrea, was crying for somebody else. You see, they're not good at lying. They don't have good memories, and they're incapable of doing what they set out to do right. So what they set out to do wrong goes worse. And you have a situation where the man who is responsible for the mask wearing law and the social distancing law and the officer in charge of enforcing it were both involved in the arm wrestling Olympics, up in each other's face, wearing no masks, not social distance, bullshitting the people. And the people are seeing that. Now, what is keeping us together as a nation standing up? We're not together. Because when the whole conversation is over, I like Philip, but he's not Indian enough. I like him, but he's not black enough. I like Philip, he's cuss. I don't like Philip at all. I don't like Philip hair. Oh, I love Philip's hair. You have a Shah Rukh Khan kind of finish. But we're not about the issue, like John Sow, who was just on the thread asking about the trade union. When of all the issues, AV oil, NIB, vaccines, and lockdown and the state of emergency, which we set out to deal with, we dealt with seriously, extensively. He wants to introduce trade unions as an aside. But that's not what we're talking about today. Because we, the people of Trinidad and Tobago, need to get better at being serious about our country. Because all of this shit, all of it, no matter how we beat ourselves and beat each other, all of this shit we voted for. So when people point at one another and say, all you vote for that, the other side point back and say, yeah, well, all you vote for SIS, and all you vote for Ish and Steve and Piaco, and all you vote. Stop it! All of we vote for the shit. And all of we have to pull ourselves out of it. If you know voting for one side is shit and voting for the other side is shit, why are we voting for either? If the only defense you have for your side is that the other side criminal too, come on. Come on. All of the talk is for nothing. If all we want is to have our race in power. If you're that stupid, if you're that foolish, please don't ever follow me. Don't listen to a word. Avoid me like the plague. But if we want a better country, we are going to have to put country first. The first time I said the words country first was about 20 years ago. And people got so excited about it. A counselor from the UNC who followed with the UNC, and Julia Davy, when she had some brain cells left, former organizing, call herself country first. I say, yeah, no problem, walk with that, go with that. I tell everybody our organization, enough, Kirkwaite and them went and print that on their jersey. And get vexed when I tell them, brother, that's our thing, you know, so you can wear it. But just remember, that's us. And he get vexed for that. Everybody just come to the Philip table and like what they're hearing and go back home with it and say, I'm going to make this mine. Especially people who write scambler speeches, because tonight they're taking notes. And tomorrow, a lot of what we said tonight going to show up in a UNC letter to the PNM. And that's about the saddest thing of all. Because the opposition that's supposed to be giving us some smidgen of hope that there is a chance, there is something, there's nothing. And those of us who are working very hard at creating something, we're not yet organized because there's a state of emergency. But on the last night, on the night of Andrea's funeral, 3 men shook hands on a stage. And that went through this country like a small earthquake. When Inchan, Ian, and I shook hands, they created the Avengers. They said, we're the Avengers. It panicked all the politicians. I want to tell you something. When all of this is over, I want to get on a table with Inchan and Ian and Stefan and Suzette and Raghu and everybody who want a better country. And I want us to find a way to put aside any ego and say, all we care about is country. Let me find a way to build something here that gives the people a chance to rescue that country. Something solid. Something that we ain't going just to win. We want to win and fix it. We're not just planning the wedding. We're planning the whole marriage. Down inside the thing. If we disagree, we have to work out how that disagreement will be dealt with. So it don't fall apart and mash up. We need to make sure that when we launch a real Avengers, people from inside the UNC and the PNM leave in droves to come and join and to be a part of it, so that we could go forward finally with something that unites the races and fix the country. And I'm telling you, we could do that. Step 1 is we're going for a walk after the state of emergency. In a perfect world, all 1.4 million of us, I'll be walking. I'm walking from Arima again. I did it once, I can do it another time. I might put on roller skates. My foot still hurting, but I'll survive it. It's my intention. Now, I only think, after watching that show, Jack Ryan, and seeing when 25,000, 50,000 people reach in town, how the position changes. Because you're not sending your army to kill your people. Your army not taking that order. When you get to the point where 150,000 people in Venezuela in front of your palace can't give the army the instruction, they're not taking it. Go and watch the show. Jack Ryan, it's interesting. Yeah? And for Trinidad and Tobago, we far from that. If we could get beyond the artificial racism, because if you give a Trini the chance to put pilau inside a roti, we do it. We're not racist. We're douglarizing ourselves normal. And since Sat dead, it increased. Because it's normal now. People like one another. We're not really a racist nation. We're politically racist. What David rather say, how we vote is not how we party. And I said, that was the greatest insult that we were ever told. How we vote is not how we party. So you is my friend, but I hate you for election time. How disgustingly childish of us. How? But anyway, it's been real, it's been fun. It's 10 past 10. The Citizens Union of Trinidad and Tobago is an important organization. Please join it. And citizensuniontt.com, citizensuniontt.org. David Naked wrote about his father, and I was so impressed what he wrote. Listen, I got 800 WhatsApps today. I'm just trying, I have it down to 400 and what? 401. I have it down to 401. I'm going through them just to get rid of that blue circle notification. I can't answer all. I can't give everybody prayer hands or heart or thumbs up. I can't. It's a lot. I want to say thank you all very, very much. From the bottom of my heart, happy Father's Day to all the fathers in this country, except the fathers who can. Nah, Richard Blaze said I can't make that joke. I make the joke about except fathers who can't drive manual, then say Happy Mother's Day. That's a joke, but Chinese little thin skin this wrong, so I ain't gonna make that joke. Happy Father's Day to all the fathers. And I am one of the people who say, you know, Father's Day is Father's Day and Mother's Day is Mother's Day. And though compounded by saying Happy Father's Day and Happy Father's Day to the mothers who do double duty or do father's duties. But you really do have to say it. There are a lot of mothers out there, and there are a lot of good fathers who do double duty too. And I guess maybe at some point we end up with 2 happy parents' days for the year. Our responsibility to our children is never ending until they put us in the ground, until we're dead and gone. Our responsibility to our children is forever. And I hope that coming out of this COVID-19, we see that we could survive without drunken orgies every night, that we could spend time with our family and not kill each other, that it's possible for us to work together to go forward. I hope that out of this, what we get, the silver lining from this whole ridiculous experience, is that we change what is normal. All the greed, all the fancy flash, it didn't help you. It didn't help you. Your BMW 22-inch rims park up in the thing, gathering dust, not helping you. And to the jackasses, and hear me, to the jackasses who spend good money to lower vehicles in this country, where every road is a bad road, your father should have worn a condom. Seriously, you can't be that stupid. Normal cars have to slow down to navigate normal roads in this country. You're going to lower it to make it worse for yourself and everybody behind you. It should be a law. If you're driving a lowered car, if a car is behind you, you're supposed to have to pull over. But you have to be an absolute jackass. And the mechanics that are doing it, come on. Come on. When people come to you to ask you to lower their car, tap them in their forehead and hit them with a glue stick. And tell them, did you drive on Trinidad's roads to get here? Now, I'm not advocating violence. It is just a joke. Don't be hitting nobody with glue sticks, whatever that is. Yeah. But to the daddies, love your children. Love them up. Immerse yourself in loving your children. Do without. Give them plenty. Childhood is the best time in our lives. It's a shit of a world. They only have disappointment and heartache to look forward to, interrupted by some good moments. But as babies, the world's still full of hope and promise. So you spend that time with them. Rekindle that moment when you believed in things. Yeah? Treat your children nice. Spend time with them. It's important. It's important to the people they become. Let them hear your good advice in their head, in their ears, long after you're gone. Yeah? I think that's about it. I don't have anything else to add. I got a lot of messages. People tell me they need me to do. I get a lot of orders. They even text messages. I just realized that. I want to apologize for not being able to answer the WhatsApps. And I want to say, even though I've given BC Paris and Ira Matur some real pressure this round, it's only because I expect so much more from our critical thinkers. And I look to them. I think to whom much is given, as my father said, much is expected. And both of them have a duty of responsibility to research and see what they're giving their voices to. Because we who can calm the shit down, if we speak more, Granny don't go and sit down in the rain waiting for a vaccine. Government will do better. It's their responsibility. It's not yours. It's theirs. We need to do better as a country. So, until tomorrow, keep yourself